And we are live. How we doing, everybody? It's Wardy here, and we're back at it with our latest New York Metropolitan pregame show to get into, as we're going to preview and deep dive everything that you guys need to know leading into tonight's matchup, 9:40 p.m. Eastern, Game 2 of a 3-game set in Arizona against those Snakes. We're going to take a look at not only the Diamondbacks lineup that you see here, certainly the Mets lineup, what I like, maybe what I don't like from Carlos Mendoza's lineup configuration today, for the Diamondbacks, who I'm most fearful of today, and ultimately who I hope the Mets do a great job against. And as we take a look at the pitching matchups, we'll get into what is there to like for Zach Gallen, for DBacks and their fans, along with for us Mets fans, which is a large contingent of you, if not all you guys of watching this, getting into what we should expect from David Peterson in this key Game 2 matchup, as the Mets are looking for their first series victory in a hot minute, everybody. If memory serves me correct, the Mets have not won a series now since they walked off the Philadelphia Phillies and finished off their 7-0 homestand. Because after that, the Mets had themselves that 4-game set against the Nationals, in which they split. Then they had a 3-game set against Arizona back at home, which they lost. And now, obviously, this Cardinals series that just transpired on the road, they just lost 2 out of 3 again. So there's a lot on the line today for this Mets team to try to go out with their best foot forward right away and hopefully secure a series victory. And I want to give credit where credit's due. This Mets team went out yesterday, and even though that they had a 5-1 lead, that became just a 1-run lead because it did Nunez very frustrating season debut, could not command the strike zone whatsoever. Breaking ball there with the slider just wasn't working whatsoever. I digress. What I commend the Mets for, however, is still winning that ball game and what was a 1-run differential. You know, the past 6 out of 7 losses for the Mets this season have all been by 1 run. So it was imperative for the Mets to finally win one of these type ball games for a change, because we know that out of now the 13 losses the Mets have had this season, 11 out of the 13 are by no more than 2 runs. So the Mets have been well within reach of pretty much every matchup they had so far this season, with the one exception of that Miami Marlins game where they lost 5-0 at home to end what was still a strong homestand at the time. So we're going to get into it all, everybody, in just a hot second. I'm going to roll call everyone first chime in the live show, as well to our replay viewers. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe on your way in. It's greatly appreciated, everybody. And I want to give a quick shout out, as always, here to our amazing sponsor of the platform today, that being at BetUS, that has you covered with all your sports betting needs, folks. First and foremost, make sure you guys bet responsibly. I don't want anyone getting involved with our amazing sponsor here unless you guys know what you're doing, first and foremost. Secondly, head over to betus.com.pa today and utilize our amazing promo code YouTube150. That way YouTube will get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, $125 on your second and your third, up to $2,000 for whatever you guys have interest in on the betting space. And as you guys can see here right now, what do they have for the Diamondbacks in this matchup to have 1+ hit, and for the Mets to win tonight? That is at plus 148. They're on that prop. I love those odds, obviously, and the Polar Bear has been red hot, batting just under 350 on the season with a well over 1,000 OPS. Had a 2-for-4 game yesterday with an absolute no doubter of a home run ripped to left at 160 miles per hour and 425 feet. So I love this play. I'm going to be hammering that personally. So if you guys wish to get involved too, make sure you do it responsibly here, but check out once more awesome friends at BetUS that have you covered. Now let's do a quick roll call to everyone chiming in, folks. We got our guy Miguel, how we doing? Chad, great member. James, great member. Broken Jester, great member. Lisa, how we doing? Brendan, how we doing? Stony, great member. Pat W, great member. Caleb, how are you? Thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate that. Okay, how do I find your link to get a hold of your email, sir? I want to have you come to one of the Mets. Okay, so Caleb, there won't be an actual link, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in the chat the email for you to contact, and that way it'll be easier to figure it out that way, okay? I'm going to just put this right here for you in the chat. Feel free to email me here, and we'll try to make that happen. There you go. Love to see it. And also, speaking of emailing, thank you guys so much. We have a lot of people that have been added to our Mets pre-sale priority list for our official Wardy Day that we're doing at Citi Field later on this summer. I will talk more about that later on in today's show here, and probably getting into our post-game show late tonight as well. Should be a good ball game for the Amazons. Be on the lookout, as that will be officially made public here in the coming days on the platform for you guys to all have access, because we've already unrolled the pre-sale list for what is now, I believe, north of 50 to 60 people. So that is already taking up a good chunk of what we're doing with the amount of tickets we have available. So once we get that officially public to all you guys, I don't think it'll be long before we find ourselves trying to expand the lounge from what we're currently utilizing there for Wardy Day. But we'll talk more about that in a second, everybody. How we doing, Master? Happy to have you in here. Also, guys, please let me know in the chat, how is the audio for all you guys? I'm sure the visuals is fine, but audio-wise, we had a little bit of a hiccup yesterday, so I had to initially defer to my webcam for the audio on our post-game show. I had to troubleshoot it, and then I utilized my wireless mic that I got right here for my Big Mets Updates video that dropped in the morning. Now I'm back to having my mic plugged in with a wire that I got through Amazon and same-day shipping. So let me know if the audio's back okay from kind of how it was previously. If there is an issue, please let me know too, so that way I can make sure I get on top of it. Checked out Matt Allen and PSL Mets tonight. Awesome, Pat. Love to see that. Yes, so I'm going to have a lot to say there on Matt Allen, and not only how he fared, but everyone in the Mets minor leagues, and our next video that'll drop either in the AM or we'll talk more about it tomorrow in some form of content at some point. So let's see what you guys got for me in the chat, everybody. Let's see this. Audio good. Happy to hear that. Mike, Master, how are you? Broken Jester, great member. Stoney, how we doing? All right, guys, let's get into this one, and let's get the puppies started with what we're seeing between the Diamondbacks and the Mets in this pregame show. Now, as we guys see from the Arizona Diamondbacks, coming off of what was a tight loss from them yesterday, Mets winning 5-4 was your final score here. And as you guys can see, we have Ketel Marte, who is not healthy in the first matchup between the Mets and the Diamondbacks this season. Just a week ago, they're at Citi Field, but he's back in the lineup. He had at least one hit yesterday for the Diamondbacks, and he's one of the best second basemen in all of baseball, not just National League. The guy's absolutely fantastic. Ketel Marte batting leadoff with his .821 OPS, commanding second base. Batting second is going to be Corbin Carroll with his .945 OPS, commanding right field. Batting third here is Randall Grichuk, and Corbin Carroll had a leadoff bomb yesterday for the Diamondbacks. Can't forget it. Grichuk, who crushes lefties, that's why he's in the lineup today. Batting third in the DH spot with his .646 OPS. Batting fourth is Eugenio Suarez and his 10-plus home runs, and that's .758 OPS, commanding the hot corner. Batting fifth is Josh Naylor, who had himself a rock-solid day at the plate yesterday. .857 OPS at first base. Batting sixth is Gabby Moreno at catcher, .587 OPS. Batting seventh is the man that was dealt with him for Dalton Varsho a couple years ago with the Toronto Blue Jays, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. with his .610 OPS, commanding left. And their batting eighth is Geraldo Perdomo, who had a really strong game against the Mets yesterday, .875 OPS at shortstop. And Mr. Hampson, the veteran there at center field with his .557 OPS there, batting ninth. Your pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks is the New Jersey native that had a strong outing against the Mets just a week or so ago, and Zach Gallen with his sub-5 ERA and a 3.79 expected ERA, matching up here against what we have in the following for our New York Metropolitans. Batting leadoff for the New York Mets tonight, folks, is Mr. Francisco Lindor as .830 OPS. Lindor is coming off of a 1-for-4 game this past day, but it was a really, really good 1-for-4 game, guys. Unless you did not pay attention to what transpired yesterday, let me enlighten you just a little bit more here, because Francisco Lindor had himself a game. 1-for-4, but with an absolute no-doubter, a nuke to right, center right field. 3 RBI day for Lindor, who's now up to that .289 average, .830 OPS, and just look at this sweet swing with me, everybody. Just a thing, a beauty. Hopefully we get more home run heroics from our leadoff man, our captain, El Capitan, however you want to call him. We have Mr. Smile looking to do more great things for this Mets team here beginning tonight in Game 2 of this 3-game set. But as we hop back into this one, everybody, let's talk more on what's happening in this line, because after Francisco Lindor's batting leadoff, we have the one and only Juan Soto. Soto, who ripped himself a double that was just short of a home run yesterday because they had no air under it, at basically 111 miles per hour rip to right. Also had a single pull to left, if I'm not mistaken, or at least got on a couple times with a walk. Soto got on base a solid number of times yesterday, was .820 OPS as commanding right field. Would love to see Soto drive a baseball to the ballpark today, and I think that's an understatement. Batting third is going to be the polar bear, who continues to stay red hot for a man who's supposed to be cold as the polar bear, and that is Pete Alonso with his 1,143 OPS at first base. And after Pete Alonso had himself a dominant game this past day, 2 for 4 with a no-doubt 2-run shot to right, a 349 average, over 1,000 OPS. Pete Alonso now 9 home runs on this season, right around 30 or so RBIs, leading the National League in pretty much every offensive statistic. Not all that surprised that Alonso is continuing to do exactly that. that because he is as locked in and as red hot as ever. I have never seen a stretch, I think, of this magnitude of Alonso looking this locked in at the plate. This is more impressive, in my opinion, than any great stretch they had in 2019, and that says a lot because the 2019 season was great, but it also had a juice baseball era, and pitchers had no clue how to approach Alonso. Teams know very much so how to approach Alonso, and Pete is still beating them day in, day out, night in, night out. And my favorite part of that about this home run from Alonso this past night is that he once again took complete advantage of Juan Soto getting 4-pitch walk. I love seeing Alonso saying, yeah, F you, buddy. You're really going to walk Soto just to face me because you think I'm the easier matchup? You think you're getting a double play ball? How about you kick rocks instead as he drives that one 425 to left? So Alonso taking advantage of Soto being 4-pitch walked for the second time in the first 4 innings of the game yesterday, facing Ryan Nelson and the Diamondbacks here, getting all that one upstairs. Sayonara, it's out of here. And that's why we love the polar bear here, batting third for the Mets at first base. Getting back here in the lineup, batting fourth is star-studded Charlie Marte. Marte, who we know had himself a productive day in one of the games there that we saw against the St. Louis Cardinals with his .613 OPS at DH, batting fourth. Big gripe is the fact that Marte's batting fairly high in the lineup. I can understand the criticism there and maybe wanting him a little bit lower in the lineup, but listen, the Mets won yesterday with pretty much the same configuration, so they're under the mentality, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And I know we don't love to hear that all the time, but that is kind of, to a degree, what Carlos Mendoza does, and then he pairs that with what he thinks is the best for the pitching matchup. So Brett Baty just got the call back up with this Mets team, and while Baty, the left-handed batter versus right-handed pitcher matchup seems good on paper, Marte obviously has more of the experience, and I bet we could see Baty come in later in this ball game, depending on the circumstances of it. Lloyd, thank you so much for the $1 holla. I really appreciate that. Scott says, I'll be snoring, unfortunately. That's okay. You can check out the Wardy content when you wake up to see how our Amazons in the orange and blue did. But Marte batting fourth, which leads us to Mr. Brandon Nimmo batting fifth, just under his 700 OPS. Nimmo trying to get back to at least 300 on the OBP. He's 100 points down from usually his career average. So Nimmo is trying to find himself not only with the power swing, but more so on finding that balance by still being that great player, grinding out at bats, working his walks, because that's the best Brandon Nimmo, and that's the Nimmo that led the Mets and at the time Billy Upward to sign him to that 8-year contract extension. Now, would have David Stearns done that in hindsight? Probably not, but the point here is that Nimmo is a guy that has been a veteran, and he has meant so much to the organization over the years, and I know for certain he's going to be able to get out of this rut, so hopefully he continues to snap out of it after what was a great 9 RBI day against the Nationals, and then he's had some solid days at the plate since then. It's fluctuated, though, especially with runners in scoring position, everybody. Sorry, guys, I just paused for a second because I saw some Y post a clip about Carlos Mendoza speaking on Kodai Senga. Just making sure it wasn't like a health update or anything like that, but he's just speaking on how well he's been so far this year. So that's good to hear, as Senga will be towing the rubber for the series finale for the Mets tomorrow as they look to hopefully either series sweep or at minimum series win this series, depending on how tonight's game goes against the D-backs. But batting sixth, everybody, is Mark Vientos. Vientos, who feels like he's getting at least 1 or 2 opposite field hits every single game, everybody. Let's see what he can bring to this Mets team here, batting sixth. And I like Vientos batting sixth, especially with the struggles he's had with runners in scoring position. Let him work himself up after he starts to heat up and really find more consistency, as we know he's fluctuated a bit. 676 OPS at the hot quarter. Batting seventh is Jeff McNeil. Mr. Jeff McNeil is getting a start for his second consecutive day over Luis Angel Akunia. And guys, I understand it's because of the lefty-righty matchup, but I'm sorry. You cannot ever tell me that it at all makes sense to not have Luis Angel Akunia not starting back-to-back days. Fool me once, shame on me. But there is no fooling Wardy twice here. And I understand why they're doing it, because Tyrone Taylor has been so hot that you want to put McNeil in, which means you want McNeil at second base because you don't want to take Tyrone out of setter right now. Because Tyrone Taylor is, if I'm not mistaken, 6 for 9 so far on this road trip. He has been unbelievably good and had a triple and a double yesterday. Guy's an absolute dog. We love ourselves some TT on the platform. But because Tyrone's been playing so hot at center field, the Mets don't want to take him out of that spot right now. And that's where I have my rightful criticisms, because while McNeil can certainly be serviceable for the Mets today, I'm not saying that he can't. It just bothers me when you have a guy in Akunia that's so productive every single game out there. Like literally every single game out there. Akunia was on base 3 or 4 times in the first game of the doubleheader. Then he wasn't on base at all, maybe at most once in the second game. But I mean, like, you're not going to be on every game in a doubleheader. That, isn't going to always happen. But since then, it feels like he's getting a bit more hit hard for it. And it just bothers me. I want to see Akunia get as much playing time as possible. So anytime that he's not in the starting lineup, but there's really nothing to justify it other than, we just want to put Jeff in there, that's going to grind my gears a little bit. Lloyd, thank you so much for the $5 holo, Lloyd. I appreciate that. Hey guys, Matt here from Florida. Been watching your show since 2022. Fan of the Mets since 86. Love to hear that, Lloyd. Thank you so much for your continued support. We're going on 3 years now you've been following the platform. So thank you kindly for that. And I wish you and your family the absolute best there, holding down the fort there among many other Mets fans there in the state of Florida. We appreciate you greatly. Thank you again for that donation. But getting on with the lineup, everybody. Batting 8th now is Francisco Alvarez. And Alvy has been swinging the bat really, really nice lately and going opposite field. Now, a little fun pregame note to share with you all in case you guys don't know. Shout out to Lewis, great member in the chat as well. Happy to have you in here. Caesar, how we doing? Great member as well. Guys, Francisco Alvarez used to take BP where all he would do is pull the baseball and try to rip home runs. Now his BP approach is, say out of 30 hacks he's taking, 3 of them he's trying to pull. All the rest are for center and opposite field. That is exactly why Alvarez has had such a damn good plate approach so far this season. That's why his swing and par has been more short and compact, and he's going for all fields. The line drive opposite field home run against the Nationals in that 2-0 victory, consistently hitting, again, with 2 out, mind you, runners scoring position that he's did over the past day or two. We love to see that from Alvarez. So I am absolutely loving Alvarez spread for all fields, and as long as he's productive, that's what I want to see. The home run power naturally will come with Alvarez. We've seen that. He's too talented for it to not to be the case. Oh, guys, we have some news, baby. We got some news to share with each and every one of you. And this news is a lot more exciting depending on how much of a prospect hugger you are and how much you care about guys that haven't really impacted the Mets too much. And that has everything to do with Roddy Mauricio. We'll probably talk about this in content that drops tomorrow, but Roddy Mauricio, folks, is being moved up to Double-A with the Rumble Ponies beginning tomorrow. And that is notable because Ronnie doesn't have a hit yet in his first 3 or 4 games with the St. Lucie Mets, but they don't care. Scouts say that he's looked really good regardless of the results, and they're more than comfortable to move him up now already to the Rumble Ponies. So Ronnie Mauricio, everybody, another step closer to returning eventually to this Mets team, whether it happens this year or potentially sometime next season. It's great to see Ronnie continue to trend upward there in his rehab. That is what we love to see. But Tyrone Taylor, everybody, batting 9th, 701 OPS at center field. And like I said, Tyrone Taylor has really picked it up as of late. Buddy went from batting what felt like a $160 for a while to now at a 258 average and a 701 OPS. And naturally, I don't expect that to be consistent and to stay that way throughout the entire course of this thing. But naturally, I'm also really happy to see the kind of production that they're getting right now. So loving what I'm seeing from this Mets lineup, and I'm really liking how it matches up against Zach Gallen tonight. This very well could be more of a pitcher's duel between Gallen and Peterson. It wouldn't shock me, nor should it shock any of you guys either. And before I talk more on kind of the pros and the cons of these lineups and the pitching matchups, I did want to give a shout out to Aaron Manny in the chat. He says, Matt, you in center field, you're a really nice guy. Where are you? Well, Aaron, you're a really nice guy too, and I'm glad that we got a chance to meet. Enlighten me, Aaron, did we meet at center field this season at one of the games, or was this from years prior? Don't take it personal if I apologize for forgetting the name. It just happens when I interact with a lot of people every single day, and the social space is a talking head, so naturally I'm gonna lose track and forget at times who's who, but please don't take it personally. Let's see. Oh, and hit the like indeed. Absolutely, guys. Hit that like and subscribe button as your first chime in. Always appreciate that. So now let's get into Zach Gallen, Arizona Diamondbacks, because Gallen had himself a rock-solid start against the Mets last time he was out there. In case you guys don't know how Zach Gallen performed his start against the Mets just a week or so ago, let me enlighten you as I'm going to pull up his numbers right now. Zach Gallen versus Mets. The New Jersey native, who will be a free agent at the end of the season, will be a nice arm for the Mets to consider if he is not looking for, say, an 8-year deal or something like that. So let's see the following, everybody. Okay. Gallen went 6 innings of 1 earned run, 3 walk ball, 2 hits allowed. I'm assuming that's the game the Mets just had nothing with runners in scoring position at all. I mean, in both of their losses against the Diamondbacks in that series, they had nothing with runners in scoring position as is. But Zach Gallen has a career 3.41 ERA and 40 strikeouts in 8 games against the Mets in his career. And he's faced off against a David Pearson, who David Pearson in his career against the Diamondbacks has done the following. All right, guys. Peterson in 6 starts has a 4.5 ERA, a 1-0 record, and 16 strikeouts. Peterson in his last start against the Diamondbacks, which was last season on April 29th, went 5 innings of 5 hit, 1 earned run ball, 0 walks, and a total of, let's look at the strikeouts if there are any, 2 strikeouts. The start before that, which came in the 2020 season in late August, he went 7 innings of 2 earned run ball on 7 hits, 4 strikeouts. Start before that, he went 5.2 innings of 1 earned run ball. Start before that, he went 4.1 of 0. So yeah, he hasn't had, a quote-unquote bad start against the Diamondbacks since the 2021 season. So I like that. That's encouraging to hear on the front of how things are looking so far between Gallen and Peterson. And we know how things go with David Pearson, too. This guy always has luck on his side and always has a defense working around him. And this is what I have to say about that. Peterson is never really going to be an analytics darling. We have yet to see that become a reality. And I don't think that's going to happen in the near future. But what I do know is that David Pearson, every single start, has been pretty rock solid for this Mets team. Going back to when he returned back from his hip surgery in June of 2024, he has been more than reliable, if not the most reliable option for the Mets in the rotation. And Zach Gallen is notoriously known as one of the better starters in all the National League. So you cannot underestimate him whatsoever, nor can you underestimate this Mets lineup. And when we look at this matchup tonight, folks, it's going to be twofold. It's going to be one, you want to try to get Zach Gallen out of this ball game early, because if you can get to a taxed Diamondbacks bullpen, that's a great thing. Secondly, you need to make sure that David Pearson can hopefully go 6 solid innings against this team. And the lineup, we just need to see consistency with runners in scoring position. The Mets went 2 for 8 with the runners in scoring position yesterday and left at least 6 on base. Not the end of the world, and they were batting better than previous games. We will take those small victories for what they are. But for a Mets team that is as deep as it is, as you guys see right here, even with Jesse Winker now on the shelf for the next 2 months, it does not change the fact that this is a rock-solid New York Mets lineup that's one of the best in the National League and one of the better ones in all Major League Baseball as is. So having said that, folks, I have a lot of confidence and excitement heading into tonight's game here against the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm curious how you guys feel as well. Guys, everybody in the live chat and the comments down below to our replay viewers, please let me know, what are your final score predictions and who do you think will be the key offensive standout better than anyone else for the Mets in their lineup today? So let me hear it, guys. Again, let me get your Mets predictions for the game tonight, as well as who do you think will be the biggest standout on the offensive end. From Francisco Lindor to Juan Soto to Pete Alonso to Starling Marte to Brandon Nimmo to Mark Vientos to Jeff McNeil to Francisco Alvarez and to Tyrone Taylor, which one stands out the most to you and why? That is what I want to hear from you guys in the chat right here, right now. Also, everybody, thank you again kindly for hitting that like and subscribe button as you chime in. Thank you, as always, for the endless support here on the platform. It always means a lot here, and I look forward to covering this ball game again late night for you guys. Should be an entertaining one. The only way that we don't do a post game tonight is if it's, say, like a horrendous game and there's really nothing to cover, and I know none of you guys are going to be stayed up to break it down. I'm better off doing it in a recap in the morning. Or if it's a win that is a good series win, but say it's only 1-0 and there's really nothing to get into, that too will probably be lumped into a video in the AM instead, as we have a fairly quick turnaround tomorrow with them not playing like an early day game, but they play at 3:40 tomorrow Eastern. So we'll see what happens. Pete, as usual, will be the big scorer. Love to hear that. Trenton not opposed as long as it gets the job done. Trenton thinks it's going to be a 7-5 Mets victory tonight. House says 5-3 Mets. Sanders says 7-2 Mets. Kevin says Tyrone Taylor will be the big standout. Jester says Pete will hit another one. The ball pops off his bat in Arizona. You're not wrong. Michael Page says 6-2 Mets. Soto, Pete, back-to-back home runs. Oh, don't get me too excited, Michael. Trenton, 7-5 Mets. Steven says 7-5 Mets, and the Polar Bears a big standout. 6-4 Mets is Andres. There we go. How we doing, Andres? Let's see. Stoney says that Lindor will be the standout. Brennan says Taylor will have himself a game tonight. And I think he will have a great game tonight again, too. He's been swinging fantastic lately. Kenneth says Mets win 5-2, and Soto's the hero. Preaching to the choir here, baby. Let's make that a reality. Ventos hits a bomb. I like that prediction, Andres. Victor says 2-1, Mets win. I think it will be a pitching match, and Mets pull it out. Home runs by Pete and Soto, so just solo shots. Okay. Lloyd says 7-2 Mets. Broken Jester says El Troll hits a home run. Just get your beauty sleep, Wardy. Bobby G, I know I will eventually. I will. I just got to keep chugging out the content for you guys, though, folks. It's hard to it's hard to go right to bed depending on the outcome of the ball game. You know what I mean? And I have to stay up for it because I need to be prepared and ready to cover it, even if I'm not certain if I'm actually going to cover it that same night. But I'd say right now, 85% chance we're going live tonight, barring changes. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. Soto finds the second deck tonight. Oh, baby. Please, Red. Please, let's make that a reality. Please. 2-3 Mets win, and Soto standouts as DJ. 42 Mets. Marte hits a 2-run homer. There we go, Mr. Chicken. Like Starly Marte beating up on his former team a little bit. I'll take that. Let's see. When do you think Felipe De La Cruz will be brought up to the Mets? That's a fair question, Sanders. I really think he can be called up within the next month or two. It's just all indicative on how he continues to speed run things through the minor leagues, because he's looked great so far this year in the Rumble Ponies and certainly there with Syracuse, but the Mets won't give him the call yet until he finds a groove of consistency enough to warrant said call up, if that makes sense. Vientos takes first pitch down the middle 3 times tonight. I hope you're wrong, Rob. I really hope you're wrong. It's tough covering baseball. It's always updated content. I give it to you. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Always got to stay up to date, especially because it's not like we have, 48 to 72 hours on average between games to let things marinate. No. Every day is new. Every day is a new game. Every day is a new storyline. That's the beauty and the curse about covering baseball. Red says Pearson 9 Ks, 0 earned runs, and a win. Whoo, baby. How many innings, Red, do you think he goes if he's getting 9 Ks and allowing no earned runs? Do I blame Nunez, Garrett, or was that nerves last night? I think a little bit of both in the case of Nunez when it came to the nerves, but I would say furthermore it has a bit to do on just Nunez trying to get acclimated at the MLB level, because he was walking everybody and their mother in the minor leagues so far this year. So it was kind of a continuation of that, but I think the nerves certainly got to him. And when he noticed that breaking ball, his slider just wasn't working at all, it was creating a greater issue naturally. So we'll see what happens with Daniel Nunez his next time out there. So far, not so good, but again, we'll give him the pass. First outing of the season. Anthony, great member. How we doing, baby? He says Mets at 9 home runs. Everyone in the lineup hits one. Dude, if that actually happens, okay, here's a take. If the Mets have a game at all this season where they hit 9 home runs and every batter in the Mets lineup hits a home run, if that somehow, some way happens at all this season, and it could even be against the White Sox, I don't give a shit who it's against. If that becomes a reality, I will give away 9 different giveaways on the platform of varying degrees, from small to big in price range, and what I would label big for like what I'm willing to spend. And that way I can give away to various Mets fans versus just one, like when we were doing our jersey giveaway when we hit 33,000 subscribers, which were, I think, like 40, 50 subs or so away. So make sure that those buttons if you guys haven't already. But yeah, I think that's awesome. And the Mets at any point this season, at any point this year, find themselves with a 9 home run game with every player in their lineup hitting a home run, I will do a 9 giveaway on the platform of 9 different Mets related things for you guys, all at once. Why isn't Akunia in the lineup? Good question, Daniel. They're doing it more so based on matchup because they like how McNeil matches up against Gallen. I'm actually going to tell you what the matchup is right now. Let's see here. McNeil stats versus Gallen. Are you kidding me? It makes even less sense. Damn it! It's like, okay, you know what, guys? Let's give Carlos Mendoza the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Jeff McNeil's gonna come in with his 500 career batting average against Zach Gallen, and I don't know, a couple plate appearances. Instead, it's 3 for 18, a 167 average, and 5 strikeouts in 7 games. If Jeff McNeil has himself a game today, it just further proves how much of a genius Carlos Mendoza is, because I have to give credit where credit's due. Most of the time when I've doubted Mendoza with the lineup this season with like a specific position, I've been wrong. And I'm more than happy to say that, because that means the manager's doing what they're supposed to be doing and listening to what they think it's best versus over, say, the fans. And in the case of this, though, just based on the simple math of the splits, Akunia isn't getting the start today because it's a lefty bat in McNeil versus a right-handed pitcher in that being Gallen. My problem is that Luis Angel Akunia didn't start yesterday either. And that's what pisses me off, because Akunia is such a difference maker. And in the one situation that Akunia got an opportunity to get on base yesterday, coming in as a pinch hitter in the 8th or 9th, but he gets on base right away with a hit by pitch. I understand it's not like he was purposely trying to make that hit by pitch happen, but at the same time, he still made it happen because he was out there. Every single game, Luis Angel Akunia does something. Either a great defensive web gem, looking effortless at second, and even at third base, the way he looked a couple days ago. First ever game at third base, and Luis Angel Akunia easily looked like the best third base option the Mets have in the organization defensively. Trumps Beatty, trumps Ventos, obviously. Not a slight on either of the two, just to further appreciate how damn good and how impressive Akunia has been, even for a guy that normally doesn't play the hot corner. We know he's a guy that can get center field reps as well, as it's been reiterated, because he had a decent amount of center field reps last year with AAA Syracuse, but he profiles best right now at second base. And as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And in the case of the Mets, I just have a problem every single time Akunia doesn't start for 48 hours straight. That will always piss me off, because there's nothing to justify it. Even if things work out, it still isn't justified. So we'll see in the case of McNeil and how he performs tonight. I'm going to either be happy, sad, or have nothing for you, depending on even if we're going to cover the game tonight. But be on the lookout, because we will more than likely cover it. And hopefully we see Luis Angel Akunia come in later in this ball game, have himself a pinch hit opposite field single, turn, stealing second base on a wild pitch, turn, scoring a run because he's driven in by the top of the order. That is what I want to see, guys. I'm not asking for much. I just want more of Akunia Matata, because I'm obsessed with the kid. He's so effing good. How can you not be obsessed with him? He's batting like 300 right now with over 700 OPS and 8 stolen bags. He has almost half the Mets stolen bags this year. I think the Mets have, 21 or 22 stolen bases so far this season, and Akunia has 8 of them? 8 of them? Like, how do you not want him in the lineup? I mean, whatever. I digress. Let's see what our veteran and Mr. Jeff McNeil provides for us today, batting 7th there at second base. But as you guys see from the left to the right lineups, this is going to be a key matchup for the Mets to try to make sure that they limit the damage from what is a lethal Diamondbacks lineup, everybody, since the Arizona Diamondbacks 2024 regular season started. So again, 2024 regular season, we're going back over a year, right? They have averaged 5.5 runs or more per game. That is good for number one in all Major League Baseball. No team has averaged more runs per game over the past calendar year plus than what we've seen in the Arizona Diamondbacks. But here's the thing. The New York Mets, over the past calendar year now, have been right towards the tip of the top of that list too. They have scored a boatload of runs over that time, and so far this season, they have done a tremendous job in getting guys on base like every single game. It's just been about driving them in, which has been the big bugaboo. That and the bullpen that is now starting to get more exposed naturally with AJ Minter and Danny Young now out for the year. How will they be able to combat that? Well, they have Jesus Cabrera as a low-leverage lefty option, but Daniel Nunez is supposed to be their high-leverage option to basically replace Minter, and we need Nunez to figure out how to command the strike zone and that slider first before we can get anywhere. So the Mets still have their ways away, and this month gets only more difficult on the schedule front, so it's imperative for them to go out there with their best foot forward and hopefully find themselves with a big series victory. Because again, the Mets have not won a damn series since I was at Citi Field last time, and let's see just how long ago that was, everybody. Because I know we're spoiled, because this is the same Mets team that went a calendar month last year on, I want to say more than one occasion, but probably just one occasion, didn't win a series. I'm not joking. For an entire calendar month last season, the Mets did not win a series. And that was so disgusting to watch unfold. Now, when we take a look here, everybody, at what we're getting in tonight's matchup, let me just double check one more thing here, and then we'll go forward. Okay, yeah, Senga and Merrill Kelly tomorrow. I knew that. And I knew I was double checking something for you guys as well. I'm just trying to think, what was I going to do? You know, when you had everything cruising and then you just lost your train of thought? That sadly just happened to me. What was I talking about prior that I was going to go on my phone and look up for you guys here real quick? That's annoying when that happens, isn't it? Oh, that's right. Last time the Mets won a series. How long ago was that? Okay, there we go. Yep, Mets haven't won a series since April 23rd. Yeah. Tomorrow, it'll be 3 weeks since the last time the Mets won a series. So, yeah, let's get this figured out, please. That'd be greatly appreciated. And I'm sorry, 2 weeks, not 3 weeks. I misspoke there. Yoshima, great member of 51 months, says, let's go win the series. Snakes will not slither tonight. Ooh, I like the wordplay there, baby. Thank you so much for that, Yoshima. Hope you're doing well, as always. Let's see here. I think a lot of the runners' scoring position is luck. It'll even out. We'll see. Yeah, Mets have had some bad luck for sure. No denying that. Web Gems have absolutely torched them in the recent games, especially against the Cardinals. And I don't even want to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals anymore. That was such a stupid series. Do I think Luis Angel will achieve the power his brother Ronald has? No, I don't think so. I think that just has more to do with his size more than anything. It's really hard to be a consistent home run hitter of 20 plus home runs, like, you know, an Akunia type at the low for Ronald, mind you, when you're like 5'8", which is what Akunia is. Jose Altuve is like the only guy in the league that's like comfortably doing that. And that's an anomaly. Not that Akunia can't find himself in that category too, but it's easier said than done. And I think how Acunia's game is played, it just naturally won't get to the point of having endless home runs because he doesn't play the game that way. And unless he changes his approach a lot, which has yet to be seen, Akunia is really more of a spread for all fields hitter. He's behind a lot of the times too, which leads him for poking for opposite field, but it works in his favor a lot too because he hits them where they ain't. So again, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And in the case of Akunia, we don't need him to be this big power hitter because the Mets already have plenty power implementation in their lineup. That's actually like far from their issue for the most part. What is more their issue is having a balance from the power to the contact and on-base ability. So that's why a guy like Akunia is so valuable for the kind of player that he is. Why do you have OPS up instead of batting average? You protecting embarrassing numbers from certain players? No, Eddie. It's because OPS is far more valuable than batting average, in my humble opinion. I'm taking on base combined with slugging every single day of the week over batting average that can fluctuate so heavily in just a couple days span. You know, I care about the bulk of numbers versus one number, and if I'm only going to show one, OPS is the most valuable of the three, in my humble opinion. Or four, depending on if you want to count average, OPS, on base, and slug as all separate things. If you want to do that, that's fine. But, you know, it has nothing to do with how their active averages are. That's kind of silly. I've been doing this pregame format for over a year now. This is nothing new. Brennan with the $2 holla. Thank you so much, Brennan. Off today, hyped to watch the Mets NU. I appreciate that, Brennan. I will preface this. If the Mets like have a shitty game tonight and only like say you lose 1-0 or so, I'm not going out of my way to do a post game on it. We'll just have a video probably dropping the AM and that be that. But as long as it's an entertaining ball game, I will certainly be here towards the end of the night. So be on the lookout for that, everybody. Almighty said, yeah, that happens to me after a couple taps. Noted. That's funny. Let's see. They got to wake up. I agree, President. I agree. Batting average isn't that important anymore. It's important, but I don't think it's the most important thing, right? It's certainly something that's been overrated in years past, especially when average just does not equate to the true context of a batter at all nowadays. Average, what it really does a great job of telling is pretty much just more on the contact ability than anything else. But when looking at the consistency of a player getting on base and hitting for power, hitting for gap-to-gap ability, that's when you're looking more in the OPS range than anything else. And, you know, most fans tend to be more geared towards that realm than anything else. It's been more of the older crowd that I've noticed in baseball that have been more on the average front because they're not as versed nor care as much for what today's numbers have to say. And while everyone's entitled to do whatever they want on that front, the downside is if you don't care about those numbers, you're going to be more and more behind the eight ball on how your favorite teams evaluates players. And then you're going to be out of the loop and wondering, oh, why didn't the Mets sign this guy with a 300 average? Well, Buddy had a sub 600 OPS because he couldn't slug for shit. That's why they didn't consider him, because this is a power game. Mets can get their contact ability. You know what I mean? But it comes down to having a proper balance of the two. And this is not even a game how it was in the 2015 to 2019 range of the juice baseball era, where everyone's averages were inflated because the ball was getting out at such a higher rate then, and the contact ability was through the roof. Once they nerfed the baseballs the past couple years, it really has fluctuated in guys' contact and average ability. We have definitely seen a difference there. Let's see here. I like the OPS, but batting average is just as important. And again, I respectfully agree to disagree there, Eddie, but I wholeheartedly respect the fact that you think it's just as good as the other, and that's fine to be a traditionalist. All I will say on that front is that while that's not a wrong way of thinking, it isn't the way of thinking that front offices typically go about their form of operation now. And the reason why I emphasize that is someone who used to be heavily more versed with batting average when I was a lot more, starting up to get into baseball a decade plus ago. What I've noticed in getting to involve more of the more complex numbers in the analytical front is that really gives you a greater gauge as to why your team makes the decisions that they do. So when the Mets sign a bunch of all these guys, would say an ERA of this, but you look at the expected numbers and they're greater, you're like, oh, okay, they see something there, or maybe they have something in their arsenal that they think they could tweak and get the best out of. Same thing with hitters, coming off of, say, a down offensive year, but what's the context of the down offensive year, right? And while they maybe batted below the Mendoza line, they were still north of 800 on the OPS, which showed that they had the contact and or slugging ability, one or the other more than the other, but it's more so on just kind of making tweaks with their contact ability to get them from being, say, a 200 hitter to maybe closer to a 250 hitter. So the reason why I emphasize that is because the game is so vastly different than what it was 5 to 10 years ago and how players are evaluated. So as a content creator, I need to be up to date as much as I can with understanding how David Stearns and this Mets front office thinks. The same way that opposing front offices and how they think. They do vary to quite a degree, depending on a small market to a big market team. But the commonality between it all is that they do utilize numbers, and they utilize a bit more than I think what we used to care for going back a number of years ago. The game has vastly changed on that front. But that's just my quick little tangent, because I remember when batting average was my end-all be-all as a baseball fan. And it's interesting seeing how much different my perspective on the game was then versus what it is now. Can't wait to see you on Sunday. We're Emerson. Yes, my man. We're definitely going to have to link up and make it happen on this Mother's Day. You said it. But folks, I want to thank you all so much again for watching us live on a replay. We're going to conclude the show now. That was our latest New York Mets pregame show, folks. So again, if you want to check out us again later, be on the lookout, as we'll be live on the platform. It should be a good game in game 2 of a 3-game set between the Mets here and, yes, the Arizona Diamondbacks. So thank you guys again for watching. I will see you all in the next one. And until then, whether it's late tonight or not until sometime tomorrow, I wish you all a fantastic rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. This is your guy, Wardy, signing out. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.